I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
We watched episode 5 of The White Lotus season 3. This episode is called Full Moon Party. The IMDb premise reads, as a yacht party extends into the night and friends explore Bangkok's clubs, parallel stories unfold with family disagreements over future plans and mysterious happenings at a nearby hotel. I don't know what the mysterious happenings are, but...
Yeah, what nearby hotel?
I don't know. But I figure we can go through the episode character group by character group, and we can save the doozy for the end.
Is it a doozy?
It's an interesting random sort of component.
It is, but we aren't near...
With a special guest star.
That's true, but we aren't near doozy territory yet.
No, but you know.
It's still, this was more flavorful, but I still...
Of all the episodes, this was the most flavorful.
Yeah.
Let's start with poor Gay Talk. So we know from the last episode, Jason Isaacs took his gun, and Gay Talk's already in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, he is not good at his job. Because, of course, he's being all shy about it. And then when Fabian, the manager, asks him about it, he just kind of says, nothing's wrong, even though he's clearly distressed. And Gay Talk does approach Jason Isaacs and says, I think you have something of mine and you know what it is.
He said, I'm missing something. I think you have it.
So right.
Passive way. Just march in there and be like, give me my goddamn gun.
And Jason says, I don't know what you're talking about, and walks right past his ass. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Okay. Then the three ladies. So we know from the last episode, they took off with their sexy concierge and had two of his friends join. So this episode, they're just partying. Maybe that's the nearby hotel.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. But
they're partying, drinking, probably a little too much. I was convinced that maybe they had been drugged, but it doesn't seem like they were.
Which I get, I think there was tension in this episode because we had everything people are doing. We had expectations that something is going to mess up based on what they're doing. So I guess Mike White is avoiding cliches, per se.
But wherever these ladies are with the three guys, things get a little awkward because at first, Michelle Monaghan's character sees like three women looking at them, and so she tries to make them jealous by like being extra sexy.
This woman is such a problem.
But it seems like that doesn't go anywhere until we see those ladies arguing with the men.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all sitting down after they've been dancing for forever. And the ladies decide that we should probably go. But then they have the bright idea, except for Leslie Bibb, who clearly doesn't feel comfortable with all this. They have the bright idea to have the guys come back to the White Lotus. So they do that, and they're kind of partying. And again, I kept thinking like something bad's going to happen. But nothing happens. They're just partying. Leslie Bibb looks tired and uncomfortable. And finally she goes, I think that's it for the night. Everyone needs to leave. So the guys sort of respectfully leave. But then we see Michelle Monaghan's character has texted. What is his name? Vitalik?
Valentin.
Not
Vitalik.
She has texted Valentin, and he's returned, and they begin to have sex.
Mm-hmm. Even though heretofore she'd been trying to ply him on Carrie Coon.
She's not a good friend.
She's not
a good friend. I mean,
she's self-absorbed.
If I were out with, like, if I were on vacation with friends and they were excited about some man who like was into me or something, of course I'd be like, girl, go ahead. I don't give a damn. But yeah, she seems like she's petty and jealous and insecure.
She seems like a lot of gay men that I've known.
Yeah. Okay. Piper's raggedy ass. So last episode, we found out that Piper brought her family to Thailand under false pretenses.
Another self-consumed woman.
First of all, I don't even know why she needed to tell them all that.
Exactly. They're not paying any attention anyhow.
These people are so, like, your family is so self-absorbed. They are not paying attention to you.
They're not asking to read your thesis.
Right. Why do you need to tell them all that? You could have just had a nice week-long vacation in Thailand, and then you decide that you want to spend a year. Because her whole storyline is that she doesn't have a thesis she's writing. She actually has plans to visit this meditation center to try to get like a spot, and then she'll live there for a year.
Finding herself.
Which to me does not seem that out of control. Like, I feel like if she would have approached it in a different way, they wouldn't have been that crazy about it.
Right. Well, I mean, that's study abroad, kind of. A lot of children of means do that.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like she could have lied about that and just said,
Mhm.
I'm going to do a year-long study abroad program in Thailand.
Mhm.
Because, you know, the gag, of course, is that she needs her parents to pay for it.
Right. But they didn't need to be. Well, and then of course the what their parents really feel about Piper, because she says she's Buddhist, and Parker Posey's like, you can't be Buddhist. You're not Chinese.
Right. Parker
Parker Posey.
Parker is being a little too crazy in this episode.
But you know, I when push comes to shove, like that's when people's true colors come out, and she's saying all kinds of shit that I would expect a woman like her to say.
Oh, for sure. Like nonsensical, sort of problematic, racist ass shit.
But she's like, because Piper was like, but you're like, you weren't, your ancestors weren't Christian. But in her response to that, it's like, well, everybody I know is Christian. And then, of course, the great line in that scene is like, you want to live in Taiwan?
Which I was laughing about because that's the thing I would say. Forgot where I was and just say any old stupid
The next
thing.
best thing.
Yeah. But of course we can't forget. So Jason Isaacs is going through it because he's in big trouble with the feds.
Mhm.
So he's preoccupied with, you know, because this whole like, why did he take this gun? Because he had said he'd rather kill himself. So this whole idea of him killing himself is looming throughout the episode. And so finally we see him writing a suicide note that
Mhm.
says like, I'm sorry, I love you. And then he puts the gun to his head. Right as he's about to pull the trigger, Parker Posey busts out the bedroom like, oh, you still awake?
Well, and remember, he stole her lorazepam, so she has, as she very irritatingly said, that she now has to drink herself to sleep. So I guess
Right.
that doesn't work the same.
She's like, you can't sleep? Obviously not. Oh, well, what's going on? You don't seem like yourself. Do you understand what expectations are? Like everyone is. And then he just kind of,
She just kind of looks at him like,
okay, she goes back to bed and then he leaves well enough alone, I guess.
and says a prayer to the heavens to tell him what to do.
Then we move to the boys, Patrick Schwarzenegger and Sam Nivola. So they're still, you know, they were on that yacht for the extended party.
They're going to full moon street dance at Half Moon Cafe or whatever.
And Chloe and Chelsea, and you know, Chloe's fast ass talking about she wants to have sex with Sam Nivola because she likes those innocent boys and how excited they get being with her. And Chelsea's like, I don't feel good about that, and I feel bad cheating on Rick, Walton Goggins' character. But Chloe kind of breaks Chelsea down eventually.
Well, they take some drugs.
While they're out on the mainland, they take some drugs. So when they get back on the boat, then they get this little like pseudo orgy going. And
Well, it's very spin the bottle ish.
Kind of, because Chloe starts kissing Chelsea and then she has to kiss Sam. And then clearly she's like, well, you should kiss your brother. So we see Sam Nivola kissing Patrick Schwarzenegger. And Patrick looks kind of confused.
He looks stuck.
Yeah, like he's stuck. Like, I've always wanted this, but I didn't know it was going to happen.
And with people, with witnesses, as you said.
Ugh, Belinda's dumbass. I'm so frustrated with her because in the last episode, we realized that she knows who Gary Gregg is and she's concerned. She knows authorities are looking for him. What does her dumbass do instead of call the authorities?
Right.
Go tell Fabian. I don't like
Well,
Fabian.
she does that because Fabian approaches her and says, oh, you're quite notable. I had a guest ask me all kinds of questions about
that
you.
made me so uncomfortable because Fabian's talking to Belinda like he's her pimp. Like he's rich and he likes you. I could introduce you. Like what?
But also acknowledging that he has a girlfriend. But okay, whatever.
I'm like, this is a work exchange program. This is so unprofessional. But anyway, Belinda's dumbass goes and tells Fabian about Gary Gregg. And I was like, my skin was crawling at how incapable she is of communicating. Why does she not bring her laptop and say, look at this shit?
Exactly. No,
look at his .gov profile. This is that man, and he is wanted by the authorities for questioning under suspicion of the murder of his wife at the other White Lotus location. So either you gonna dial these numbers or I am.
Instead, she comes across as like a goppy ass hater,
doing her ASMR, talking about there's this guy and I knew him, and he's like, what? I don't understand what you're saying, and I'm concerned about myself. Oh, I couldn't stand it. Speak up.
And he shoots her down.
He does. He's like,
And he says, I think you'll survive.
I think you'll survive. Yeah, he chastises her like the caliber of guests we have here, a lot of them don't want to be recognized and it's none of our business. I can't.
And you know what I immediately said? Why didn't she talk to Porkjoy?
Right. Is it Ponchai?
Sorry, I'm drinking. And then immediately that's the next scene with her.
She tells him, and then he's like, okay. And then immediately it goes to like, well, first, because she invites Ponchai to her room.
What did I say? Pork chop?
You said like pork chop or some craziness.
Oh my God.
But Ponchai is in her room and she's explaining the things. And then we hear that noise again.
Mm-hmm.
And we discovered that it's not the ghost of Maple.
It's somebody scratching around.
It's not Gary Gregg trying to kill her ass. There's this fucking, excuse my language, this monitor lizard in her closet. So she uses that as like, I'm scared to be alone, even though we now know that it's not Gary Gregg creeping around, but a big old amphibian. Mm-hmm. So
I think it's a reptile.
A reptile, whatever. So so she asked him to stay. And then we cut to him getting undressed in like his little silk negligee, asking if he should sleep in her bed or the extra bed. And then she goes in this weird thing about consent mm-hmm. and how they just started that in this country. And so, okay, clearly she wants to be sexual with him. Mm-hmm. But the most interesting part of the episode is we see that Walton Goggins' character, Rick, is in Bangkok. Mm-hmm. And he's just sitting in his nice hotel room overlooking the downtown skyline, when all of a sudden he goes into the lobby and meets a friend, Sam Rockwell.
Sammy baby.
And at first, I think you thought reasonably that, because they don't tell us who he is mm-hmm. the entire episode, like, oh, it's his brother.
Yeah, I'm like, it's something.
But then when Walton says, let's go get a drink, Sam's like, yeah, whatever you want. But then Sam orders alcohol, Walton orders alcohol and Sam orders a chamomile tea. So then we realize that he's sober, and Walton says, oh, I've never hung out with you sober. So I assume he's not his brother mm-hmm. if he said something like that.
And he's also brought a package for Walton, Rick.
But he doesn't open the package.
He does, yeah.
What is in it?
A gun.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Duh. But the big gag is Sam Rockwell just starts talking because Walton is asking him, like, well, like, what brought you here? What are you doing here? And he says, well, you know,
he had to get out of the U.S.
I got out of the U.S. for some reason, and I've always had a thing for Asian girls. Like, okay. So he went to Thailand, and I just had my fill. Like, I had sex with all kinds of Asian girls all night, every night. And after 1,000 nights of that, I got tired of it. And then I realized maybe I want to be an Asian girl. Mm-hmm. And that's when it's like, what? And Walton's like, wait, what? Really? Yeah. And then, of course, we were waiting for it. Sam Rockwell starts talking about ladyboys and how he had sex with ladyboys. But then one time he let a ladyboy, these are his words, mm-hmm. penetrate him. Mm-hmm. And so he realized that maybe his fixation with Asian women is that he wants to be an Asian woman. Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's a middle-aged white man on the outside, but inside he's an Asian girl.
And so maybe he wants a man like him to have sex with him. So then he did that for a while.
Well, and the term that he begins to use is railing. They railed.
And he would have multiple middle-aged white men like him rail him. And then he realized that maybe that's not what he wants. And so then he found Buddhism. And
well, he stopped. I think drugs had a lot to do. He's like, then I stopped taking drugs. Okay. Yeah.
And then he just says, like, now I'm sort of back to normal, but Buddhist and celibate. But I still want women. And, you know, life's crazy, isn't it? And the entire time Walton's just sitting there like, he's WTF. Mm-hmm. Okay. While it was sort of an amusing story, it's like, what are we doing right now? Who is this man? Why do we need to know this? Also, I think because I was just waiting for someone to talk about ladyboys, I think it kind of was annoying. Like you can't still tell a story about Thailand without.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And to the point that it's like, he's not trans. He's just he went through an experimental phase,
Mm-hmm.
which I did think that was kind of curious. Like, because I've met many people who seem to have a preoccupation or a fetish for a certain type of person.
I think that the exploration this person was going through was interesting.
It was interesting. And I could see a movie just about that.
Yeah, well, and figuring like I think I want to explore that and do that. Okay, that's not it. And I think most people don't have the liberty to be able to do that, because he was also, as part of his paradigm in finding himself, was he would hire an Asian woman to watch while he was getting railed, and then he would look her in the eye and say, "Aha, I'm you and you're me, and it's a full circle of life moment." Yes, there's a lot to unpack there.
I only have a few notes. One is we just keep seeing Mook dancing.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have anything to do in this episode except look pretty.
Somebody's got to do it.
The three ladies with the three Russian guys, that part of the episode felt like the beginning of Hostel 4 or something.
Those shots, yeah, they're making me nervous. But yeah, Michelle's, maybe not malicious, but she certainly does malicious things.
Fabian was driving a very fancy car, which I found kind of strange.
Well, remember, he's trying to be a singer himself, so I wonder if he's got his fingers in some pot somewhere.
Maybe. I mean, it's certainly a choice. So I wonder,
with the swiftness with which he shot down Belinda about calling the police.
Oh, maybe he's. Oh, you know what? Maybe he is into some like he's using the hotel to funnel other things, and he's getting kickbacks for letting people I don't smuggle drugs or something.
I don't want to talk to the police either, but I mean, if there was something to hide, it's like, let's avoid that at all costs.
You know what? That's probably what it is, and that's how he's driving this 7 Series, like brand new BMW. Like, where is he going in that car?
And remember, Zion is going to arrive soon.
Yeah, we don't see him in this episode, but yeah, he's arriving soon. I did think it was funny when Piper is trying to explain to Parker Posey, her mom, like that the guy running the meditation center is legit, because she's saying that they're just like sex cults and look at Catholics. And
yeah.
Piper goes, he wrote a book. And Parker Posey goes, Charles Manson wrote a book. And so did Bill Clinton.
She goes, and Hillary Clinton wrote 5 books. And then
they're on the same level.
She shows her the book, and she's like, does that man look like a cult leader? And Parker Posey's like, no, he looks Hare Krishna.
The only reasonable thing Patrick Schwarzenegger has said so far was in this episode, where he says no to drugs. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because he seems like an uptight control freak weirdo who probably wouldn't like drugs. And if he did, they'd have to be on his terms. So I kind of like that he was like, because he even does the symbol, like, no to drugs.
I am the drug.
But
not a fun one.
But Sam, his brother, takes the pill. So ultimately, Patrick does take the pill. And then when we see them, once the pills kick in, Patrick looks very concerned. Right before Chloe and Chelsea engage in activities with Patrick and Sam, Chloe's trying to convince Chelsea that she should, but Chelsea's saying like, no, that's wrong. I'd feel really guilty. Well, what is Rick going to do if he finds out you cheated on him? Probably nothing. Okay, well then what's the problem? And then Chloe says, well, I think Gary Gregg is capable of killing me. So,
but it's a risk worth taking. Like, okay.
Foreshadowing.
All right. I guess that's that money talking, because
So we know in the next episode that it seems like some violence will occur.
Finally.
Ugh. And then we know that Zion shows up. But I do think of the 5 episodes so far, this one had the most flavor to it.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I just still can't believe I have to wait a week between each of these. It seems so unnecessary.
Well, I don't, if I had to binge these, I don't know that I'd want to. So maybe a week is probably fine.
That too. Sure.
All right. Ta-ta.